Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. For those utilizing ASL interpretation services, today's interpreters are Gloria Vargas and Craig Ridgway. Instructions on how to lock their screen and pin their videos will be in the chat. There are cart services that are also provided, and the link will also be in the chat.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Arva Rice. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I would like to call the CCRB's August public board meeting to order. Would the rest of the board members please introduce themselves, starting with those in the room?
Hi, Joe Fox. I'm a board member since about 6 months.
Hey Hogan, a city council appointee out of the borough of Queens.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Jamot, and I'm a mayoral appointee from Queens.
Good evening. My name is John Darsh. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the executive director of the agency. I'm also from Queens.
Good afternoon. I'm John Siegel. I'm one of the mayoral appointees to the board.
Hi, my name is Herman Merritt. I'm a city council designee from Brooklyn.
Thank you. And can I have those who are joining us on virtually, if you can also introduce themselves?
I am June Northern, and I'm a marital appointee from Brooklyn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlene Brown. I am Police Commissioner Designee, and I'm rounding out with the group of people from Queens.
Thank you. Seeing as we do not have a quorum, we will push the approval of the July minutes to the next board meeting. This summer, the CCRB has the privilege of hosting 10 SYEP, Summer Youth Employment Program interns. This talented group of young New Yorkers have been working closely with our outreach team to improve how the agency connects with young people across the city. From designing content for social media to canvassing communities around the city, they have been amazing additions to the team. Thank you to all the interns for your hard work, and Jahai Rose, our Director of Outreach, will shortly go into more detail on the incredible projects they have completed. Working with young New Yorkers is very important to the CCRB, and the 5th class of the Youth Advisory Council is well underway, and they are preparing for this fall's event. If you know anyone between ages 10 and 18 who is interested in working with the CCRB, applications for next year's YAC are open in November. Next month, we will bring the board meeting back to Staten Island, officially visiting all 5 boroughs in 2023. I want to thank all community members who have made the effort to come to our meetings and share their experiences. I would also like to thank the CCRB staff who have gone above and beyond to host those meetings all over the city. We look forward to returning to Staten Island next month. I will now pass it off to Executive Director Jonathan Darsh. John?
Thank you, Chair Rice. 6 months ago, we hired a digital communications specialist, Claire Platt, who took on the challenge of refreshing the agency's website. Claire added information and reorganized our website to be more accessible to the public. Later on during this meeting, Claire will share some of the highlights of what you can find on our website. CCRB investigators are the core of this agency, and their workload has steadily been increasing. With the new budget granted to the CCRB, we are hiring new class of investigators to start this September. If you know anyone interested in working for the CCRB, please encourage them to apply. Before we get into the meat of our meeting, just a quick update on agency operations. Our office is open for walk-in complaints, but it's also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, by telephone at 1-800-341-2272, or just by calling 311. If anyone wishes to file a complaint here tonight, we have 2 investigators on hand ready to take complaints. Emma and Kevin Vila. I think Kevin is on his way, but is Emma here? Oh, Emma is right behind the pillar, but she's here. And someone from our Civilian Assistance Unit, Amy O'Sullivan, is also here this evening. Some ground rules for today's meeting. We're going to ask folks to keep their comments to 4 minutes max. If you want to make a comment and you're joining us through WebEx, please use the raise your hand feature and we will call on you. Want to thank the staff for their hard work, and thanks again to the members of public for their participation in this meeting.
Thank you, John, for that presentation. Do any members of the board have any questions of our executive director? Does anyone have any questions of John? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to ask Jahai. Looks like he's already at the podium. So I'm going to ask our Director of Outreach, Jahai Rose, to make his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair Rice. My name is Jahai Rose. I'm the Director of Outreach. I go by he, him pronouns, and I'll provide you with some information about the CCRB and some additional information about the wonderful work we've done with our interns over the summer. Bear with me for a moment while I share my screen. Hey, the Civilian Complaint Review Board is the nation's largest oversight entity over the largest police force in the country. The CCRB investigates, mediates, and administratively prosecutes complaints of police misconduct against members of the NYPD. The agency is governed by a 15-member board. That board consists of 5 members that are appointed by the mayor, 5 that are appointed by the New York City Council, 3 designated by the police commissioner, and 1 appointed by the public advocate. The chair is jointly appointed by the New York City Council and the mayor. The CCRB can investigate allegations of misconduct. Our jurisdiction falls under fatal, force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. The agency can also take complaints about untruthful statements made by NYPD members of service. Just a few facts about the Right to Know Act. The Right to Know Act was a law that went into effect in October of 2018. The law impacts ways that police officers engage with members of the public, which includes officers under certain circumstances being required to identify themselves, mainly by providing their name and other identifying information, such as rank, command, and shield number. With some exceptions, officers should be explaining the purpose of the encounter. They should inform you of your right to say no under certain circumstances when asking for your consent to consent for a search of your person, property, vehicle, and/or home. Under certain circumstances, officers should offer a business card with information explaining how to make a comment and/or complaint about the encounter between that individual and the officer. Civilians can request this business card in all encounters. This is a copy of what the business card looks like. As previously mentioned, there are various ways to file complaints about police misconduct. Easiest way is by going to the CCRB's website at nyc.gov/complaints. Or by calling the CCRB's hotline at 1-800-341-CCRB or 1-800-341-2272. Remember, if you see footage of misconduct on social media or on the news, you could file a complaint even if you were not there in person. The typical hashtag or the typical handle for the CCRB is at CCRB_NYC. Other ways to file complaints to the CCRB include calling 311. You could also visit the CCRB's headquarters at 100 Church Street on the 10th floor in Lower Manhattan. You could direct message or DM the CCRB on our social media. Our platforms are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The handle is once again at CCRB_NYC. You could also send a letter through the mail to the agency at 100 Church Street, 10th floor, New York, zip code 10007. You could also file a complaint at any precinct in the city of New York. The NYPD is required to accept CCRB complaints at any precinct, or you can request a complaint form with a postage-free envelope and forward that letter straight to us. So the CCRB hosted 10 summer youth interns, summer youth employment interns, ranging from ages 16 all the way up to 19. They came from the Manhattan Transition and College Access Centers, the Brooklyn Transition and College and Access Centers, and Pencil Incorporated. The CCRB took our interns through a rigorous ambassador training where they learned about the history of the agency. They learned about the CCRB's mission and jurisdiction. They also were provided some guidance regarding social media outreach by our comms team. They also learned how to do outreach planning. And they also learned how to conduct outreach presentations for youth, which we call youth outreach training. So each of our youth went through a process of conducting a virtual virtual presentation where they came into groups and they exercised their knowledge of the agency. The interns were divided into 5 different committees, and those committees were responsible for various things. So the data collection and data entry team was responsible for expanding the CCRB's outreach efforts by increasing our database. So they engaged in outreach to various community groups, notifying them that the CCRB would be interested in working with them, and we were able to collect over 300 new organizations that we would like to start working with towards the tail end of the summer. The CCRB had one of the committees that was also created was a social media presence unit. The social media presence unit gave us direct guidance regarding things that we could do to make our social media more appealing to young people. And our social media team was able to design some social media content that was actually used by the comms unit to promote CCRB's courtside. One side you will see CCRB at the Rucker, which is an annual initiative to meet more young people at the Rucker streetball basketball tournament in Harlem. We also did CCRB courtside in the borough of Queens as well. We were connecting with young people in the South Side Jamaica, Queens. The CCRB, our interns also engaged with the Youth Advisory Council, helping to plan out our 2023 Youth Speak Up, Speak Out. Our young people have more vast knowledge regarding what young people like to do during these specific types of events. So we seek their input. They were able to give us a body of knowledge regarding different types of activities that we could do that'd be up to date, that would keep our young people engaged during the 2023 Speak Up, Speak Out. Our summer outreach activities club. So all of the young people had an opportunity in their committees to rename the committees. Only one committee actually decided to do so. So I'm going to call them by the name that they chose, which was the Outsiders. The Outsiders was a committee that was responsible for going with us to community events, giving us more knowledge regarding how we can connect with young people and places that we could go to connect with young people. The photos you can see here would be our Outsiders at a event in Brooklyn at El Puente, conducting a youth presentation for our young people that was a part of the El Puente SYAP students. In addition to our students going out with us to National Night Out Against Crime and doing tabling with us in various communities. We did at least one National Night Out in each borough. The CCRB had one of the committees that was created was the Outreach Innovations Crew. Their responsibility was to create some type of different way for us to be able to connect with people regarding different ways to notify them of what the information the agency does. And that way was to creating a game. The game that was suggested was CCRB Uno. So I'm going to just give you a little taste of what CCRB Uno looks like. Thank you very much. Of what CCRB Uno looks like and what folks in the city of New York could plan to expect from the CCRB going into September. CCRB Uno is equipped with power cards, such as, skip your turn. So we're gonna play with our executive director. So Executive Director John Darsh, what is the first step in the life of a CCRB case?
We get a complaint into intake.
That is correct. So to our SYAP interns, we had a wonderful time doing what we do with you, and their last day for most of them will be on this coming Friday. So we just want to say to you all, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, if you would like a outreach presentation by the Civilian Complaint Review Board's outreach team, feel free to connect with us on our email at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov or follow us on social media at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you very much, Chair Rice.
Thank you so much, Jahai, for that presentation. Thank you again to the Summer Youth Employment Workers. I love UNO, so that was fantastic. And I look forward to us being able to utilize that in our outreach efforts. Do any members of the board have any questions for Jahai? Does anyone have a question? Okay, if not, thank you so much, Jahai, for that presentation. And once again, thank you to the Summer Youth Employment Workers and all those who work so hard to make sure that they had a meaningful summer. I also wanted to acknowledge another board member who has joined us. Esmeralda, if you can introduce yourself.
I am Esmeralda Simmons. I'm the public advocate designee from Brooklyn, New York.
Thank you so much. We're now going to have our next presentation. It is from our digital content specialist, Claire Platt, and she's going to provide us with an update on the CCRB website. Claire?
Hi, can everyone hear me? Yes? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name's Claire Platt. I'm CCRB's digital media specialist. My role includes running the agency's social media, as well as maintaining the website. I just finished a pretty substantial revamp to the website, so today I'll be taking everyone through some of those updates, as well as just a brief tour of the entire webpage, just to show everyone what the website has to offer. So I'll just share my screen now. Okay, can everybody see the website? Can everybody see my
Yes.
screen? Looking good? Okay, great. Alrighty, so to begin with, here's our index page. Here we have our agency hero. This displays useful items such as graphics like this to featured agency reports. And then if you scroll down, there are quick links that will take you to some of our most accessed pages on the website. Moving right along, we have our About section. So here you can find information on the agency such as CCRB history, the mission statement, CCRB careers. You can also find information about board meetings such as the one we're having right now. Okay, and then moving along, we have our complaint section. So this section definitely saw the most change, both on a structure and content level. We know the process of filing a complaint can feel complicated and perhaps even a little daunting, so we just wanted to lay out the process as intuitively and as user-friendly as possible. So now this part of the website is structured to reflect the complaint process more linearly with file a complaint, complaint process, and then complaint status. So we'll begin with file a complaint. So this section has information that is useful if you're thinking about filing a complaint with the agency and just beginning the complaint process. In general, an overall goal of the website revamp was to streamline information and then overall improve user experience. So an example of that can be found in on our agency jurisdiction webpage. So we know that it can be perhaps confusing sometimes to keep all the different areas of CCRB jurisdiction straight. So here we have our acronym, and then you can always scroll down to see more in-depth details of all the different areas that the agency investigates. So if someone is unsure whether or not the alleged misconduct that they may have witnessed would fall under jurisdiction, they can refer to this page. And then you'll see on the left side navigation tab all the other pages in this section. Alrighty, moving along to complaint process. So this contains information on, as the title might suggest, the complaint process and just the investigation process on a whole. We now have this handy flow chart on the home page of this section, so users can actually now see the entire life cycle of a complaint laid out from intake to closing reports. And then if you scroll down, there's a more in-depth description of each step in this process. And then, of course, if you have filed a complaint, and you have a case with the agency, you can always contact your investigator with any questions, but hopefully this page will be able to troubleshoot any questions a civilian may have. And then we have other sections in this, rather other pages in this section are investigation results, the administrative prosecution unit, and mediation. And then the next section is complaint status. So this section houses the search engines that civilians can use to find the statuses of their complaints, as well as closing reports and departure letters. So closing reports are detailed summaries of cases that are prepared by the assigned investigator and then reviewed by the board. The board would then decide on the outcome of the case, for example, if the allegations are substantiated or not. And then so here, civilians can either look up their own complaint statuses or statuses of other complaints they might be curious about. And then departure letters. These are letters written to the CCRB by the NYPD when NYPD decides to impose a different discipline than the one recommended by the board. So both closing reports and departure letters are newly available to the public as a result of the repeal of 50A. 50A was a city law that basically concealed the disciplinary records of NYPD members of service. So since that law has been repealed, the CCRB has been working on publishing redacted closing reports and departure letters. So this has been a huge effort, and we're all still working towards getting a critical mass up there. But I just wanted to acknowledge the effort that has gone into this project in particular, as it's a great step towards transparency and oversight in general. And yeah, so that's where you can find these search tools. The next section on our website is outreach. So this section of the website showcases the amazing work of the outreach unit. Here you can request a presentation just like the one Jahai made, and that presentation can be given at your local community center, school, as well as we have our outreach calendar, outreach data, and more information on the left side navigation. Moving along, we have our policy and data section. So here you can find reports, data, member of service record lookup, and then foundational documents and city mandates. So just briefly, I want to take everyone into the data section. So our data transparency initiative right here is an excellent tool that users can use to access data about agency operations. So it's categorized into complaints, allegations, victims / alleged victims, and NYPD officers. I'll just click into one. Here you can scroll through, learn a little bit more about the data offered here. You can use some of these quick links. And yeah, this is an amazing resource prepared by our policy unit. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knew this existed on the website because, again, it's just, you know, another step towards more transparency and oversight in general. And yeah, and you can also, it links back to our closing reports and departure letters here as well. And then we do have a page for feedback. Alrighty, so, and then going back to foundational documents and city mandates, so that just houses important documents such as the city charter, rules of the CCRB. You can find NYPD documents such as like the disciplinary matrix or the patrol guidelines. And yeah, so alrighty, we'll finish up with resources. So in the redesign, I definitely wanted to create a dedicated space on the website to highlight the many resources that the CCRB is able to connect civilians to, keeping in mind that some civilians who might be accessing our website may potentially experience traumas related to potential misconduct that they may have witnessed. So I just wanted to make sure that this page is prominently featured on the website and people don't have to sort through other information in order to access it. Here we have our civilian assistance unit right in the first page. The civilian assistance unit is a dedicated unit within the agency that connects civilians to all these services that are listed on the left. And yeah, so, and then our language accessibility plan is also housed in this part of the website. So that concludes my presentation. I want to thank you guys so much for your time. I'm totally happy to field any feedback or questions. And yeah, I'll stop sharing now. Oh, I already stopped sharing. I think I'm good.
Thank you so much, Claire, for that really terrific and comprehensive presentation. We appreciate you and your team and all the work that you put in to revamping the website and making it more user-friendly for our community. May I ask if there's any members of our board who have any questions of Claire?
Madam Chair, I had one question. Claire, where, if you wanted to find a memorandum of understanding that the agency has with another city agency, such as the NYPD, is that on our website?
Certainly, you'd find that in the foundational documents and city mandates, which is under our policy and data section. So all of our MOUs with NYPD are stored there.
Thanks, Claire.
Terrific. Do we have any other questions? I did have one quick question for you, Claire, and that is, now that the process is finished, how will you let people know to come to the website for this information?
Yeah, so first of all, the revamp is finished, but also the website, like I'm gonna keep updating it as the agency changes. So if anybody has feedback, like I said, I'm happy to take it. And I think to answer your question, we do encourage the public to visit our website through social media. It's the tool to file complaints release through our website. And then, yeah, to access reports and stuff like that, whenever those come out, we'll publicize them on social media or, yeah, for now, I'd say social media is probably the most, the way that we get people to come on the website.
Excellent. Any other questions from our board? Okay. Thank you again, Claire, for the presentation. We will now enter the public comment portion of the meeting. We will begin with those joining us virtually who would like to make a comment, followed by those who are joining us in person. For those joining virtually, please use the raise your hand feature. Please keep your comments to 4 minutes. Yahira, would you please call on the first person?
Thank you, Chair. The first person joining us virtually who's raised their hand is Omira.
Where am I?
Omira, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I have 20 complaints about a captain of the NYPD helping a drug dealer in. Apparently, I find out that Mr. Mahadeo, Director of Case Management, and Rosemary, Deputy Director, are friends with this captain. And then apparently erasing my complaints. I did when the other seminar, you guys told me that somebody was going to help. I don't know why these people are still working with the CCRB, as these people are helping this drug dealer and this captain. And I wanted to know what can be done with the director of case manager and the deputy director if they helping this captain who is helping this drug dealer who apparently is handing guns to teenagers to join his gang, and he's doing child trafficking in Bronx apartment. And apparently this captain is giving him city vouchers so he can obtain these apartments in the Bronx. That's
Thank you
it.
for your
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your comment, and I'm going to ask our executive director, John, if you can respond.
Thank you, Miss, for calling in tonight and for filing the complaint that you did with the CCRB. The CCRB received your complaint and looked at it and determined that you were complaining about corruption. And so corruption is not in the CCRB's jurisdiction. As was described earlier, we have jurisdiction over excessive force, abuses of authority, such as improper stop and frisk, or improper entries of a home or place of business, offensive language, and discourtesy. We don't have jurisdiction over corruption, and so when Ishwari and Rose, the director and deputy director of the case management unit, sent you the letter informing you that we had referred the case to the police department, they were acting in their capacity as heads of the case management unit. They didn't make the actual decision to not investigate your case. One of the things we've done recently is we now have a formalized process for investigating these types of cases where someone makes a complaint about members of the CCRB so that we can address them in a formal way. But I'm glad you were able to call so we could explain to you the reason for the agency's actions, and hopefully that will clear up any misconceptions.
Thank you, John, for that clarification. And once again, thank you for the call. I'm going to ask Yohira, who is next on the list.
Next, we'll be hearing from Lloyd Sibbert.
My comment is I filed a complaint with you guys about a police misconduct against myself. They came to my apartment and arrested me without any probable cause. And when I filed a complaint about one of the officers, because I got their name, because I filed a civil lawsuit against them, you guys came back and told me that statutes of limitations that ran out on the officer when I filed the complaint, because I basically didn't know what to do. And then you guys told me that you gave the numbers to Terminal Affairs. And Terminal Affairs gave me a phone call, but I didn't answer. I don't like dealing with Terminal Affairs. But then I got a phone call from the detective, he began to ask me questions about the case. And I didn't feel good talking to him either. He tried to get me to make some statements. Well, my comment is how come I wasn't given ability to get consent to have you guys contact Terminal Affairs in order for me to even talk to them or them to talk to me. That's my comment.
Mr. Siebert, thank you for calling in today. Can you just let us know when this incident occurred, and then I'll have our executive director respond.
Which is the police misconduct?
Yes, when did the police misconduct occur?
It occurred on September 1st, 2020.
Okay, thank you. John, can you respond?
So, Mr. Sibbert, thank you very much for your call. And with your particular case, I will take a look at the facts of the case later today, and I will personally reach out to you and explain the decision that was made. But generally speaking, the statute of limitations expires 18 months from the date of incident. So we have a policy of any complaint that we receive more than a year after the date of incident, where we look at it to see if we are if, first of all, if we're going to be able to complete the investigation before the expiration of the statute of limitations. Second, whether that investigation is likely to be able to make a determination on the merits, whether there was misconduct or not. And finally, whether the crime exception to the statute of limitations might apply. The crime exception is if the conduct alleged in a complaint could be charged as a crime, then the statute of limitations does not apply. So I will take a look, Mr. Siebert, and see if it is likely that we could have investigated your case, but it sounds like from what you were describing to me that the reason we closed it was because of the age of the incident when the complaint was received.
Yes, you're correct. My issue isn't about the statute of limitation. My issue is really about getting a phone call from Attorney Affairs, and then I turned around and got a phone call from the detective. And my complaint basically is how come was I informed that you were going to give the Attorney Affairs that my phone number or the information to contact me, because I really didn't want to talk to neither one of them. And I don't want to know if that's a policy that y'all do, that when you close the case, but you didn't turn the case over to Attorney Affairs. That's it.
There are certain cases that we refer to internal affairs. Sometimes it's because the case that we have received a complaint about is not within our jurisdiction. For example, the caller earlier who was complaining about corruption by a police captain, we don't investigate those cases, so we refer them to internal affairs. You should have been sent a letter or an email, depending on how you contacted us, that told you what we were going to do with your case. So if you did not receive that correspondence, I apologize on behalf of the agency, and I will reach out to you and explain exactly what happened with your case and what went wrong with the system.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Mr. Siebert, for calling in today. We appreciate it. Can I ask Yahira for the next caller?
Thank you, Chair. There are no more virtual attendees with their hand raised, so that concludes the virtual portion of the public session.
Okay.
People are interested in making a public comment. If they could line up behind the podium. Mr. Myers anticipated what I was going to say and has staked out a position to be the first person speaking to us in person tonight.
Thank you, sir. I'm Michael Myers. I'm the president of the New York Civil Rights Coalition. First of all, I want to express my deep appreciation for the cool breeze that I got coming into the building today. Not because of your air conditioning, but because gone, finally, is our police commissioner. I'm not going to mix any words. I'm glad she's gone. The CCRB should have demanded her resignation because of the way she mistreated you and ignored your recommendations. So I want to make a record that I find it a cool breeze to come into to your building today. And I hope that you will invite the new police commissioner to meet with you in a public session so we can eyeball him immediately, not 3 months from now or 3 years from now, but immediately, because he cannot be in a position to repeat the mistakes of his predecessor. She was ridiculous, inane. Secondly, I want to say that the resignation of this agency is next on the agenda. I cannot believe this is my second public meeting where you didn't even have a quorum to do business or transact business. So what are you here for? This is not a public relations gimmick. You're supposed to be in a quorum to transact business, to take action. You can't even pass on the minutes of your meetings because you don't have a quorum. If you cannot come to meetings to meet with the public, then you ought to have the decency to resign and let somebody else take your place. Because there's plenty of people from the public, from the civil rights community, from the legal community, from the broad section of the public who want to be in your seats and who will do the obligations of CCRB civilian complaint review. If you don't want to do it, if you don't have the time to do it, if you can't come to meetings, then resign. Finally, I want to say that I respect the interim chair. I don't want my comments to offend her in any way. But I don't know why she is still interim chair. Not because she's not qualified to be chair. Why is she, after all these months, still interim chair? Where is the mayor? Besides going out there with the homeless, where's the mayor? Why doesn't he act on making a regular chair for this commission? How can you act without having a leader, a paid leader and a volunteer leader? So I suggest, of the things you should do, you should send a letter to the mayor, whatever his name is, because I forget it. He's very forgettable. You should send a letter to the mayor and say, how come you cannot appoint a permanent chair for our commission? This is a very important commission. As important as the homeless in front of the Roosevelt Hotel. So oh yes, on the website. I'm glad you got a new person in charge of the website. But where is the directions and travel directions to the meeting? I couldn't find it. So if she's still on there, I want you to tell me where on the website there should be train information, bus information, how to get here. I had to go to MTA to find out, to remind myself how to get here by subway. So as you have a new website, let's have some basic information on there. Let's have videos of these meetings so we don't have to have, I don't want to disrespect your staff. They were good in terms of their reports. But those same reports should be on the website. This is a video world. People can't come to meetings every month. They should be able to go to the website and see his presentation. They should go to the website and see the public information person's presentation and know how to do things, how to get here, how to file a complaint. What's the difference, Mr. Executive Director, between the DA and the CCRB? What's the jurisdiction of the CCRB? The time limits and all that stuff. I'll be on the website. So every time I come here, the same thing over and over and over again. And I just say we can get into the 21st century. 21st century, I came here because the website doesn't work for me. Well, not the website, the WebEx. It doesn't work for me. Every time I try to see the meeting from my office, I can't get it. And I've talked to your people in charge of it. They still haven't fixed it. So I come here. But I'm tired of coming here and hearing the same thing over and over again about people not doing the right thing. That's why you're here, to do the right thing, to get after these police officers who don't know their responsibility is to be civilized, decent, responsible, and not criminal.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. With regard to the website, I think Claire showed us where the recordings of the board meetings are so that people can see not just this month's board meeting, but all of the board meetings since we've been videotaping them. And you can get to them through the website. They're on YouTube, where you're right. they should be on the web and they are on the web. The issue about the statute of limitations and other basic information about the agency and our process, I think when Claire was showing us the portion of the website that dealt with the agency process and the complaint process, that information is there. And so I apologize if we went through it too quickly during the presentation, because the point of the presentation was to just show folks where to find the information, not necessarily give out the information. And your point about the travel directions, if it's not there, it will be there very quickly. So thank you for that constructive criticism. That's actually a very good point. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in-house after Mr. Myers was done?
Hi, my name is Mari Moss. I wasn't planning to speak at all, but I do think it is important to denote a few things since I'm here at the CCRB for the first time. I would like to say that I agree with the public that obviously our police have taken an oath to protect and serve the people. And in some situations where there are sensitive matters, especially sensitive matters that involve domestic violence, I think that my suggestion is that there is a special training and or unit of the CCRB that handles how police are dealing with domestic violence situations. We don't want them to compound them. This is already a traumatic situation that people are enduring or experiencing. So when the police are handling those matters, it is very important that they handle it with decorum, respect, compassion, understanding, and sensitivity. And so that is my recommendation and my humble submission to this meeting today. Thank you.
Yes, Joe.
Mary? It's some great suggestions. Just that I forgot to mention, I was the first to go, so I'm still new to getting the protocol. I'm the NYPD rep, one of the 3 NYPD reps on the board. And just about domestic violence responses, in every command, there's 2 to 4 dedicated domestic violence officers. This is not going to answer your question, by the way, but I just want to give you the background. And they are, you know, the best people in the NYPD to deal with these really challenging and sad and and sometimes desperate situations. But as you're probably thinking as I'm saying this, is they're not working 24/7, and when somebody calls at 2 a.m, and they finally find that courage to call, which is a big deal, they're not going to get those cops responding first. So to the extent whatever contact I have with the NYPD, I'll certainly pass that along to emphasize the idea of training. I mean, there's training for officers and basics in domestic violence, but you're right. It's a specialized type of event, and it's something that the more training you have in it, and the better you'll be able to handle those situations the way they're supposed to be handled. Thank you.
Ms. Moss, one of the things that the agency has tried to do since we first started investigating allegations of sexual misconduct by members of the NYPD is teach our investigators how to use trauma-informed interview techniques. So, and as we've had more and more people get experience and get the trauma-informed interview techniques, we've actually integrated into our own training that we give our investigators in-house. Because it is, I agree with Mr. Fox and you that domestic violence situations are very, have a large potential for having to aggravate and re-traumatize folks when you tell what happened again and again. And so it's something that but that's something that's true of many of the incidents that we investigate. A lot of allegations of excessive force or situations involving discourtesy and offensive language are also traumatizing. And so we've worked very hard to train our investigators to conduct interviews in ways that are sensitive to the needs of civilians so that folks are not re-traumatized, but we are still able to get the information we need to assess what happened in an investigation and make what happened in an incident and make informed recommendations to the board so that they know what they can make determinations. Did anyone else have a comment for Ms. Moss? Are there any other folks who want to speak here today? Madam Chair, I think that concludes the public comment portion of our meeting tonight.
Thank you. Do we have any old business to come before the board this evening? Any old business? Okay, seeing none, do we have any new business to come before the board this evening? Hearing none, I now move that we move towards executive session. The agenda for executive session is the board will deliberate on one full board case and receive an update from the executive director on pending personnel actions and an update from the general counsel on litigation. Do I have a motion to conclude the public meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved. We have now concluded our public August meeting of the CCRB. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.